In the misty twilight of Eldridge Estate, a single harp string snaps with a whisper, unleashing a poison that claims its first victim in silence. Shadows creep through opulent rooms where secrets fester like hidden thorns, and a brilliant detective arrives to unravel the deadly melody. Welcome to The Silent Harp, a deadly secret at the estate, a Hercule Poirot mystery that will twist your expectations. Grab a cup of tea, take a seat, and let the intrigue pull you in. If you're enjoying the story, hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Chapter 1. The Arrival at Eldridge. The grand gates of Eldridge Estate creaked open under a sky heavy with impending rain, as if the heavens themselves sensed the turmoil within. Hercule Poirot, the renowned Belgian detective with his impeccably waxed moustache and piercing grey eyes, stepped out of the chauffeured car, his polished shoes crunching on the gravel driveway. He adjusted his Homburg hat and surveyed the sprawling manor house before him, a Gothic masterpiece of stone turrets and ivy-cloaked walls, nestled in the English countryside like a forgotten jewel. But Poirot knew better. Jewels often hid flaws, and this estate, owned by the wealthy and reclusive Sir Reginald Harrington, was no exception. Whispers of a family curse and unexplained deaths had reached even his ears in London, prompting an urgent telegram from Sir Reginald himself. "Come at once. A shadow looms over us all." As Poirot approached the massive oak doors, they swung inward to reveal the butler, Mr. Graves, a tall, gaunt man with a face etched by years of discreet service. "Monsieur Poirot, we are most grateful for your haste," Graves intoned in a voice as dry as autumn leaves. "Sir Reginald awaits you in the drawing-room. The household is unsettled." Poirot nodded, his little grey cells already whirring. He followed Graves through a labyrinth of corridors adorned with ancestral portraits, their eyes seeming to follow his every step. The air was thick with the scent of polished wood and faint lavender, but beneath it lurked something sharper, perhaps the metallic tang of fear. In the drawing-room, a fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows across Persian rugs and velvet armchairs. Sir Reginald Harrington rose from his seat, a man in his late 50s with silver hair and a frame bent by invisible burdens. His handshake was firm but clammy. "Poirot, thank God you're here," he said, his voice trembling. "Slightly. My family is unravelling. It started with the harp, that cursed instrument in the music room. It hasn't been played in years, yet last night my niece Amelia heard a single note echo through the halls. This morning we found her companion, Miss Lydia Thorne, dead in her bed, her lips blue as if poisoned. No one knows how or why." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Tell me, Sir Reginald, about this harp. Why is it silent?" The baronet sighed, sinking back into his chair. "It belonged to my late wife, Lady Eleanor. She was a virtuoso, but after her tragic accident 20 years ago, falling from the balcony during a storm, the harp was locked away. Some say it's haunted, its strings tuned to misfortune. But now, with Amelia insisting she heard it play, and Miss Thorne gone, I fear for us all." Poirot paced slowly, his hands clasped behind his back. "And who else resides here? I must know the players in this symphony of suspicion." Sir Reginald listed them methodically. His son, Victor, a dashing but reckless heir, who spent more time at gambling tables than managing the estate. Victor's wife, Clara, a former actress with sharp wit and sharper ambitions. Amelia, the orphaned niece, delicate and artistic, who had taken up residence after her parents' untimely Demise in a carriage mishap. Dr. Elias Crowe, the family physician, a scholarly man with a penchant for obscure poisons from his travels in the Orient. And finally, the staff, Graves the butler, Mrs. Finch the housekeeper, and young maid Elsie, who darted about like a frightened sparrow. Poirot requested a tour, beginning with the music room. It was a cavernous space, with floor-to-ceiling windows draped in heavy brocade curtains, overlooking manicured gardens now shrouded in fog. At the centre stood the harp, an antique piece of rosewood and gold filigree, its strings dusty, yet intact. Poirot leaned close, examining it without touch. "Interesting," he murmured. "No fingerprints, no recent disturbance, yet you say a note was heard." Amelia, who had joined them, nodded vigorously. She was a vision in pale blue silk, her auburn hair pinned in loose curls, but her eyes held a haunted gleam. It was faint, uncle like a sigh. "Lydia and I were reading by the fire when it happened. She laughed it off, but by dawn she was cold." The detective turned to Dr. Crowe, who had entered quietly. "Doctor, your assessment of the death." Crowe adjusted his spectacles. "Cyanide poisoning without doubt, swift and silent. But how it was administered? No food or drink nearby showed traces. It's as if it came from thin air." Poirot smiled enigmatically. "Ah, but air can carry many things, scents, sounds, secrets. We shall see." As the group dispersed for afternoon tea, Poirot lingered, his mind piecing together the puzzle. Victor Harrington sauntered in, cigarette in hand, his tailored suit rumpled from a late night. "So, the famous Poirot. Think you can sort this mess? Father's always been superstitious about that harp. Probably just a coincidence." Clara followed, her laughter like tinkling glass. "Darling, don't be crude. Monsieur Poirot, we're all devastated about poor Lydia. She was like a sister to Amelia." But Poirot noted the fleeting glance between husband and wife. A spark of something unspoken. Tea was served in the conservatory, a glass-domed haven of exotic plants and wicker furniture. Mrs. Finch bustled about with scones and clotted cream, her plump face flushed. "Terrible business, sir. Miss Thorne was a kind soul, always tipping extra." Elsie poured the tea with trembling hands, spilling a drop. "Sorry, my lord. It's the nerves. That harp gives me chills." Graves hovered silently, his eyes watchful. Poirot sipped his Earl Grey, observing the dynamics. Amelia picked at her food. Victor argued lightly with his father about estate finances, and Clara flirted subtly with Dr. Crowe. "Tell us, doctor, about your time in India. Did you encounter any mysterious deaths there?" Crowe chuckled. "Many, madame. Poisons from plants that mimic natural causes. But here, it's civilized England." Poirot interjected softly. "Civilization does not preclude crime, mon ami. Often it masks it better." As the light faded, Poirot retired to his guest room, a cosy chamber with a four-poster bed and views of the estate's lake. He unpacked his valise, laying out his notebook and a small vial of herbal tonic. Lying back, he reviewed the facts. A silent harp that sang, a poisoned companion with no apparent means, a family rife with tensions, debts, ambitions, old grudges. "The harp is the key," he whispered to himself. But what tune does it play? That night, as rain pattered against the windows, Poirot heard it, a faint, ethereal twang from downstairs. Slipping into his dressing gown, He crept to the music room. The door was ajar, moonlight spilling across the floor. Inside, a figure stood by the harp, gloved hand retreating from the strings. Before Poirot could speak, the shadow fled through a side door. He approached the instrument, noting a single string vibrating still. "Mon Dieu," he said. The secret begins to hum, but as he turned to pursue, a scream echoed from upstairs. Another victim. The estate held its breath, the mystery deepening like the gathering storm. And so, the first threads of the web were spun, leading to revelations that would shake Eldridge to its core. Chapter 2. Shadows in the Storm. The scream that pierced the night sent a chill through Eldridge Estate, sharper than the rain now lashing the windows. Hercule Poirot, his slippers silent on the polished floors, hurried toward the sound, his heart steady but his mind racing. The music room lay abandoned, the harp's single vibrating string now still, its ghostly notes swallowed by the storm. He climbed the grand staircase 2 steps at a time, guided by the echo of panic from the west wing. Candlelight flickered in the hallway, casting jagged shadows as the household converged on Amelia Harrington's bedroom door, where the scream had originated. Amelia stood trembling in her nightgown, her face pale as moonlight, clutching a brass candlestick like a weapon. "It was in my room," she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. "A shadow, moving by the window. I swear it wasn't human." Sir Reginald, dishevelled in a burgundy robe, placed a protective arm around her. "Nonsense, child. The storm's playing tricks." But his eyes darted nervously to Poirot, betraying his doubt. Victor, bleary-eyed and reeking faintly of whiskey, scoffed from the doorway. "Probably just Elsie sneaking about, dropping trays again." Clara, wrapped in a silk kimono, shot her husband a withering look. "Victor, do be serious. Amelia's terrified." Poirot stepped into the room, his keen gaze sweeping over the scene. The bedroom was a delicate haven of lace curtains and floral wallpaper, but the air felt heavy, oppressive. The window was latched, rain streaking the glass, yet a faint muddy smudge marked the sill. "Mademoiselle Amelia," Poirot said gently, "describe this shadow." She hesitated, twisting a lock of hair. It was tall, cloaked, like it drifted, rather than walked. "I woke to a creak, saw it glide past, and then it was gone." Dr. Crow, who had arrived with his medical bag, frowned. Hysteria, perhaps. Grief over Miss Thorne could manifest such visions. Amelia's eyes flashed. "I'm not mad, Doctor. I know what I saw." Poirot knelt by the window, inspecting the smudge. It was fresh, the dirt still damp, suggesting someone had been outside despite the downpour. He noted a faint scratch on the latch, barely visible. "Curious," he murmured. "The storm hides many things, but not all." He turned to the group. "Monsieur Graves, was the house secured tonight?" The butler nodded stiffly. "All doors locked, windows checked, as always." Mrs. Finch, wringing her hands, added, "I did the rounds myself, sir. No one could have got in." Poirot's moustache twitched. Yet someone, or something, did. He requested to see the grounds immediately, despite the hour. Sir Reginald protested, but Poirot's calm authority prevailed. Armed with umbrellas and lanterns, he led Graves and Victor outside, the rain soaking their coats as they circled the manor. Beneath Amelia's window, the flower bed was trampled, petals crushed into the mud. "Footprints," Poirot observed, pointing to indistinct impressions leading toward the woods. Victor cursed under his breath. Poachers, maybe, or some vagrant. Poirot shook his head. Non, monsieur. A poacher does not climb to a second-story window in a storm. Back inside, the household gathered in the library, a cavernous room lined with leather-bound books and a massive oak table. Poirot paced before a roaring fire, his silhouette sharp against the flames. "Let us consider," he said, "why a shadow visits Mademoiselle Amelia. Is it to frighten, to warn, or to seek something hidden in her room?" Clara sipped a brandy, her eyes narrowing. "Amelia's always been fanciful. Perhaps she's imagining things to get attention." Amelia flushed but said nothing, her fingers tightening on her shawl. Poirot turned to Elsie, who hovered by the door, her apron twisted in her hands. "Mademoiselle Elsie, you clean the west wing. Have you noticed anything unusual in Amelia's room?" The maid's eyes widened and she stammered, Only a strange smell sometimes, sir. Like bitter almonds near the window. I thought it was the flowers outside." Poirot's gaze sharpened. "Almonds, you say? Most interesting." Dr. Crow interjected. "That could be cyanide, but we found none in Amelia's room after Lydia's death." Poirot nodded slowly, yet the scent lingers. A clue, perhaps, to the method of our silent killer. As the clock struck midnight, Poirot proposed a bold plan. "Tomorrow, we shall stage a vigil. Each of you will take a post in the house, watching for this shadow. If it is human, we shall catch it. If it is not—" He let the sentence hang, his eyes gleaming. Sir Reginald looked uneasy. "You think the harp and this shadow are connected?" Poirot smiled faintly. "Everything in Eldridge is connected, monsieur, like strings on a harp. Each vibrates with the other." The group dispersed, but Poirot lingered, flipping through an old estate ledger he'd found on a shelf. It detailed repairs to the music room after Lady Eleanor's fall, specifically a reinforced balcony and sealed passages. "Sealed," he mused, tapping the page. "But seals can be broken." He closed the book, his mind turning to the harp's eerie note and the muddy footprints. Was the shadow a ghost, as Amelia feared, or a cunning intruder exploiting the moi? Estate secrets? As he retired to his room, a faint creak echoed from the hallway. Poirot paused, hand on his door, but saw only darkness. Yet the air carried that same bitter almond scent Elsie had described, faint but unmistakable. He locked his door, his little grey cells buzzing. The storm raged on, but within Eldridge, a quieter tempest was brewing, one that would soon demand another price. Chapter 3. The Vigil's Revelation. The morning sun broke through the storm's remnants, casting a pale glow over Eldridge Estate, but the air inside remained taut with unease. Hercule Poirot stood in the dining room, his breakfast untouched, as he outlined the vigil to the assembled household. His plan was simple, yet precise. Each member would take a post at key points of the manor, staircases, hallways, the music room, to watch for the mysterious shadow. "We shall be the eyes of the night," he declared, his voice calm but commanding. "No corner of this house will go unwatched." The group nodded, though tension flickered in their glances. Victor's impatience, Clara's guarded curiosity, Amelia's quiet fear, and the staff's reluctant obedience. As dusk fell, the vigil began. Poirot positioned himself near the music room, hidden in the shadow of a velvet curtain, his pocket watch ticking softly. Amelia was stationed at the top of the grand staircase, clutching a lantern, her eyes scanning the gloom. Victor patrolled the east wing, muttering about the absurdity of it all, while Clara took the conservatory, her silhouette framed against the glass. Sir Reginald guarded the library, Dr. Crow the west wing, and the staff, Graves, Mrs. Finch and Elsie, covered. The servants' quarters and back entrances, the house settled into an uneasy silence, broken only by the creak of floorboards and the distant howl of wind. Hours passed, the night growing heavier. Poirot's senses were sharp, attuned to every sound. Then, just past 2 a.m., a faint rustle came from the direction of the servants' staircase. He glided toward it, silent as a cat, and caught a glimpse of movement, a figure in a dark cloak slipping through a narrow door. He followed, descending into a dusty passage that smelled of mildew and age. The passage, hidden behind a false panel, led to the cellars, where crates of wine and old furniture lay shrouded in cobwebs. The figure paused, unaware of Poirot's presence, and lifted a small vial from a crate, its contents glinting in the dim light of a carried candle. Before Poirot could act, a muffled gasp echoed from above. He retreated swiftly, emerging into the main hall just as Amelia stumbled down the staircase, her lantern trembling. "I saw it again," she whispered, her voice tight with panic. "By the balcony. It moved toward the music room." Poirot steadied her, his mind racing. 2 shadows in one night, or one playing a clever game. He rallied the household, who gathered in the music room, their faces pale in the flickering candlelight. The harp stood untouched, its strings gleaming like a silent accusation. "Someone was in the cellars," Poirot announced, his eyes sweeping the group. "A figure with a vial, perhaps the key to our poisonings." Victor snorted, probably Graves sneaking a bottle of father's best claret. The butler stiffened but said nothing. Clara tilted her head, her voice silky. "A vial, you say? Sounds theatrical. Perhaps someone's staging a drama." Dr. Crow adjusted his glasses, his tone measured. "If it's cyanide, it could be stored in small quantities, lethal but discreet." Poirot nodded. "Precisely, Doctor. But who among us knows such arts?" He turned to the servants' staircase, beckoning Graves to unlock the cellar door. The group descended, lanterns casting eerie shadows on the stone walls. Poirot pointed to the crate where the figure had stood. "Search it," he instructed. Mrs. Finch, her hands shaking, lifted the lid to reveal a hidden compartment. Inside was a small glass bottle, half filled with a clear liquid, labelled with a faded apothecary's mark. Dr. Crow examined it, his face grim. "This could be cyanide, but I'd need to test it. It's old, possibly from my predecessor's medical supplies." Sir Reginald's voice trembled. "My father kept such things for experiments. I thought they were destroyed." Poirot's gaze sharpened. "Experiments, you say? We shall revisit that. But for now, who knew of this passage?" Graves cleared his throat. "Only the senior staff, sir. It's rarely used, mostly for storage." Elsie, hovering at the back, whispered, "I've seen dust disturbed there recently, but I thought it was rats." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Rats do not carry vials, mademoiselle." As the group returned upstairs, Poirot lingered in the cellar, his lantern illuminating a faint scratch on the crate's edge. A symbol, perhaps a monogram, too worn to decipher. His mind churned. The shadow in Amelia's room, the figure in the cellar, the vial of poison. Were they one and the same? Or was Eldridge plagued by multiple deceivers? He rejoined the others in the drawing room, where tension simmered. Amelia sat by the fire, her hands clasped tightly. "I'm not imagining it," she insisted. "That shadow wants something from me." Clara's lips curved slightly. "Or someone wants you to think so." Poirot addressed the group. "Tonight, we have uncovered a piece of the puzzle, but the picture remains incomplete. I urge you all to remain vigilant, lock your doors, and trust no one until we meet again at dawn." As they dispersed, he caught Victor whispering to Clara, his words sharp but indistinct. Dr. Crow lingered, offering Amelia a sedative, which she refused. The staff retreated silently, their faces unreadable. Back in his room, Poirot sketched the symbol from the crate in his notebook, its lines nagging at his memory. He recalled the ledger's mention of sealed passages. Perhaps not all were as secure as believed. The night had revealed a hidden path and a deadly tool, but the shadow's purpose remained elusive. Was it tied to the harp's eerie note, or was that merely a distraction? As he blew out his candle, a distant thud echoed from the lower floors, too faint to pinpoint. The estate was alive with secrets, and Poirot knew the next day would bring them closer to the surface, or deeper into danger. Chapter 4. The whisper of the past dawn broke over Eldridge Estate, painting the mist-soaked gardens in hues of gold. But the warmth did little to dispel the chill of suspicion that clung to the manor. Hercule Poirot, refreshed after a few hours of rest, stood in the library, his fingers tracing the spines of ancient books as he sought answers in the estate's history. The symbol he'd sketched from the cellar crate nagged at him, a faint memory of something aristocratic, perhaps, heraldic. He pulled down a heavy tome on the Harrington family lineage, its pages yellowed and brittle, hoping to uncover a thread that tied the past to the present dangers. The household gathered for breakfast in the dining room, their faces drawn from the sleepless vigil. Amelia, pale but composed, sipped tea in silence, her eyes darting to the windows as if expecting the shadow's return. Victor, nursing a headache, grumbled about the early hour, while Clara, radiant despite the tension, engaged Dr. Crow in light conversation about rare orchids. Sir Reginald sat at the head of the table, his hands fidgeting with a silver spoon. "Monsieur Poirot," he said, "any progress?" Poirot, entering with the tome under his arm, smiled enigmatically. "The past, Sir Reginald, often speaks louder than the present. I seek its voice." He opened the book, revealing a family crest with a stylized harp entwined with a serpent, a symbol eerily similar to the crate's marking. "This crest," Poirot said, holding it up, "was it used by your ancestors?" Sir Reginald nodded slowly. "My grandfather's design. He was eccentric, obsessed with alchemy and the occult. The harp was his emblem, said to guard the family's secrets." Poirot's eyes gleamed. And what secrets might those be? The baronet hesitated, then shrugged. Old tales, hidden wealth, forbidden experiments. Nothing tangible. Poirot shifted focus, addressing the group. "Today, we explore the balcony where Lady Eleanor fell. Its history may illuminate our mystery." The family exchanged uneasy glances, but none objected. Led by Graves, they climbed to the music room's balcony, a stone platform overlooking the estate's lake, now shimmering in the morning light. The railing was sturdy, recently reinforced, yet Poirot noted faint scratches on the stone, like those on Amelia's window latch. He knelt, examining the marks. "These are not from age," he murmured. "Something was dragged here, perhaps recently." Clara leaned against the railing, her voice teasing. "You think someone's reenacting Eleanor's tragedy?" "How melodramatic," Victor snorted, but Amelia shivered. "Aunt Eleanor's death was no accident," she whispered. "She knew something dangerous." Poirot turned to her sharply. "What makes you say this, mademoiselle?" Amelia bit her lip. "Letters I found in her old desk, hidden in a false drawer. They spoke of a betrayal, someone close. She was afraid before she died." Sir Reginald's face darkened. "Amelia, those are private matters. You shouldn't have pried," Poirot pressed on. "Where are these letters now?" Amelia hesitated. "In my room, locked in my jewellery box." He nodded, filing the detail away. "We shall examine them later. For now the balcony tells its own story." He pointed to a faint discoloration on the stone, a circular stain barely visible. Dr. Crow peered at it. "Could be chemical residue, acid or poison perhaps. I'd need my kit to confirm." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Or a trace of our cyanide left by careless hands." Returning indoors, Poirot requested a private meeting with Amelia in her room. The space was as he'd seen it before. But now he noticed a small desk in the corner, its wood polished but scarred. Amelia unlocked her jewellery box, revealing a bundle of letters tied with faded ribbon. Poirot scanned them, his eyes catching. Phrases: "Trust no one," "The harp hides it," "They will kill to keep it." The handwriting was elegant, frantic, signed by Lady Eleanor. "These are most illuminating," Poirot said. "Your aunt feared a specific threat. Did she name anyone?" Amelia shook her head. "No, but she mentioned a guardian, someone watching her." As they spoke, a sharp crash echoed from downstairs. Poirot and Amelia rushed to the music room, where Elsie stood frozen, a shattered vase at her feet. I was dusting," she stammered, "and something moved behind the harp." Poirot examined the instrument, noting a loose floorboard beneath it. Prying it open, he revealed a small hollow containing a brass key, its head engraved with the same harp and serpent crest. "Mon Dieu," he whispered. "A key to what?" The household gathered, curiosity and fear mingling. Victor eyed the key suspiciously. "Probably opens some old trunk full of junk." Clara laughed softly. "Or treasure, darling. You'd like that, wouldn't you?" Sir Reginald's voice was sharp. "Enough! That key is a family relic, nothing more." But Poirot sensed his unease. "We shall see what it unlocks," he said, pocketing the key. "For now, it is a clue to the shadow's purpose." As the day waned, Poirot retreated to the library, the key heavy in his pocket. He cross-referenced the letters with the family tome, noting references to a vault beneath the estate, sealed by the first Harrington. Was the key its entrance? And did the shadow seek it, or aim to keep it hidden? The bitter almond scent lingered in his memory, a reminder of the poison's reach. He resolved to search the estate's lower levels tomorrow, but first he needed to watch the family closer. Their secrets were unravelling faster than he'd expected. As night fell, a faint hum vibrated through the walls, not the harp's note, but something deeper, mechanical. Poirot stepped into the hall, his lantern casting a soft glow. The sound came from below, perhaps the cellars. He paused, sensing eyes upon him, but saw only darkness. The estate was a chessboard, and he was closing in on the opponent's king, or was he the pawn? Chapter 5. The Vault. Beneath. The faint hum from the cellars lingered in Hercule Poirot's mind as he descended the servants' staircase at dawn. The brass key with the harp and serpent crest clutched tightly in his hand. The air grew colder, damp with the scent of earth and stone, as he navigated the narrow passage to the estate's underbelly. Eldridge Estate hid secrets in its depths, and Poirot was determined to uncover them. The ledger's mention of a sealed vault, coupled with Lady Eleanor's cryptic letters, pointed to a hidden truth, one that might explain the shadow's movements and the poison's deadly reach. In the cellar, Poirot's lantern cast a golden glow over the crates and barrels, their shadows dancing like spectres. He traced the walls, tapping for hollow spots, his ears attuned to any echo. Near the far corner, behind a stack of mouldering wine casks, he found a stone panel etched with the same crest as the key. His pulse quickened as he inserted the key into a barely visible slot. With a low groan, the panel shifted, revealing a narrow tunnel sloping downward. Dust swirled in the stale air, untouched for decades. Poirot hesitated, then stepped forward, his footsteps muffled by years of neglect. The tunnel opened into a small chamber, its walls lined with rusted iron shelves holding leather-bound journals and glass vials, their contents long evaporated. At the center stood a locked iron chest, its surface engraved with the harp and serpent motif. Poirot knelt, examining the lock. It matched the key perfectly. As he turned it, the chest creaked open, revealing a collection of papers, a locket, and a small sealed bottle labeled Essence of Nightshade. His eyes narrowed. Nightshade could mimic cyanide's effects, a subtle but deadly cousin. The papers were scientific notes, scrawled in a spidery hand, detailing experiments on toxins, authored by Sir Reginald's grandfather, the alchemist. Footsteps echoed behind him, and Poirot spun, lantern raised. Dr. Crowe emerged from the tunnel, his face pale in the dim light. "Monsieur Poirot, I saw you leave and followed. What is this place?" Poirot's gaze was steady. "A vault of secrets, Doctor, and you, it seems, are curious." Crowe's smile was tight. "Merely professional interest. Those notes, my predecessor's work. He was brilliant but reckless, dabbling in poisons banned even in his time." Poirot pocketed the bottle and a journal. "And yet, someone has visited this vault recently. The dust is disturbed." They returned upstairs, where the household was stirring. Poirot called a meeting in the drawing room, placing the journal and bottle on the table. "This vault," he announced, "holds the legacy of the Harringtons' darker pursuits. Poisons, experiments, secrets. Who among you knew of it?" Sir Reginald's face flushed. "I told you, those were my grandfather's follies. I sealed that vault years ago." Victor leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "Sealed, yet someone's been poking around. Convenient, father." Clara's laugh was sharp. "Oh, Victor, don't start accusing everyone. It's tedious." Amelia, clutching her shawl, spoke softly. "The locket, it's Aunt Eleanor's. She wore it always." Poirot opened it, revealing a miniature portrait of a young man, not Sir Reginald. "Who is this?" he asked. Amelia shook her head, but Sir Reginald's jaw tightened. "A cousin. Long gone. No relevance." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Everything is relevant, monsieur." He turned to Elsie, who hovered by the door. "Mademoiselle, you mentioned disturbed dust in the cellars. Did you ever see this locket or bottle?" Elsie's eyes widened. No, sir, but I found a scrap of paper near the servants' stairs. Last week with that crest. I thought it was rubbish and burned it. Poirot's mind raced. The vault's contents suggested a calculated mind, one familiar with poisons and the estate's hidden corners. He decided to test the household. Tonight, he said, we shall dine together, and I will share more. But be warned. The shadow watches, and it knows we are close. As the group dispersed, he caught Clara whispering to Dr. Crow, her hand brushing his arm. Victor's scowl followed them, while Graves moved silently, his face unreadable. In the library, Poirot studied the journal, its pages detailing a formula for a poison that could be vaporized, released through subtle means, like a plucked harp string. The thought chilled him. Was the harp rigged as a deadly instrument? He resolved to inspect it again, but first he visited Amelia's room, where she showed him another letter from Eleanor, found that morning. It read, "The Guardian is closer than I feared. The vault must stay sealed." The word guardian again, someone within the household. As evening approached, Poirot stood by the music room's harp, running his fingers along its frame. A faint seam suggested a hidden compartment, but it was locked, and the key didn't fit. He heard a soft click behind him and turned to see Mrs. Finch, her face flushed. I was just tidying, sir." Poirot smiled. "Of course. But tell me, have you ever cleaned inside the harp?" Her eyes darted away. "No, sir. It's too delicate." Her haste to leave betrayed her nerves. Dinner loomed, and Poirot sensed the net tightening. The vault had revealed a piece of the puzzle, but the shadow remained elusive, its motives tangled in the Harringtons' past. As he dressed for the meal, a faint breeze carried that bitter almond scent through his window, now ajar despite being locked earlier. Someone was sending a warning or preparing the next move. The game was far from over, and Poirot knew the night would bring new dangers. Chapter 6. The Dinner of Doubts. The dining room of Eldridge Estate gleamed under the chandelier's soft light, its long mahogany table set with crystal and silver for a tense evening meal. Hercule Poirot, impeccable in his black dinner jacket, took his seat, his sharp eyes scanning the faces of the household. The air was thick with unspoken accusations, the clink of cutlery a stark contrast to the undercurrent of dread. He had orchestrated this dinner to observe, to provoke, to draw. The shadow into the open, the nightshade bottle and journal rested in his pocket, their weight a reminder of the deadly stakes. Sir Reginald sat at the head, his forced smile betraying nerves as he carved a roast. Amelia, pale but resolute, picked at her plate, her gaze flickering to the windows. Victor, his tie loosened, poured himself a generous glass of wine, while Clara, radiant in emerald silk, chatted lightly about London's theatre scene. Dr. Crow listened politely, his fingers drumming softly on the table. The staff, Graves, Mrs. Finch, and Elsie, moved with practiced efficiency, serving dishes with downcast eyes. Poirot noted their every gesture, searching for the telltale slip. As the soup course arrived, Poirot spoke, his voice cutting through the chatter. "Mes amis, tonight we dine not only on fine cuisine, but on truth. The vault has revealed secrets, but one question remains. Who is the guardian Lady Eleanor feared?" The table fell silent. Amelia's spoon clattered against her bowl. "Guardian," she whispered. "You read my aunt's letter?" Poirot nodded. "Oui, and it suggests someone here knows more than they admit. Perhaps someone who visited the vault. Victor snorted. You're fishing, Poirot. Next you'll say the harp poisoned Lydia itself. Clara's laugh was sharp. Don't tempt fate, darling. That harp's eerie enough. But her eyes lingered on Poirot, calculating. Dr. Crow cleared his throat. The nightshade you found. It's potent, but outdated. Modern poisons are subtler. Whoever used it is no amateur. Poirot's moustache twitched. Indeed, Doctor. And who among us has such expertise? Crow's smile faltered, but he said nothing. Midway through the main course, Elsie dropped a serving tray, the crash echoing like a gunshot. She gasped. Sorry, sir. It slipped. But Poirot caught her glance toward Graves, who stood rigid, his lips pressed thin. No matter, mademoiselle, Poirot said smoothly. But tell me, have you noticed anything unusual in the dining room tonight? Elsie hesitated, then whispered, The wine decanter, sir. It's not the one we usually use. Poirot's gaze snapped to the crystal decanter by Victor's elbow. Interesting. Monsieur Victor, have you poured from it? Victor shrugged, mid-sip. Tastes fine to me. But Poirot rose, lifting the decanter to his nose. A faint whiff of bitter almonds made his heart skip. Do not drink further, he said sharply. The table froze. Dr. Crow stood, sniffing the liquid. My God, it's tainted. Cyanide, I'd wager. Sir Reginald's face drained of colour. Poison! Here? Clara's hand flew to her throat, her poise cracking. Who would dare? Poirot turned to Graves. Who prepared the wine? The butler's voice was steady. I decanted it myself from the cellar's reserve. No one touched it. Mrs. Finch nodded vigorously. I saw him do it, sir. All proper. But Poirot's eyes narrowed. Yet poison is present. Someone had opportunity. He set the decanter aside, marking it for later analysis. We shall test this, but for now, let us continue. Carefully. As dessert was served, fruit untouched by the kitchen to avoid risk, Poirot steered the conversation to Lady Eleanor's locket. The portrait inside, he said, of a young man. Sir Reginald, you called him a cousin, yet his face resembles someone here. He held up the locket, its miniature gleaming. Victor squinted, then laughed. Looks like old Crow, doesn't it? Bit younger, though. Dr. Crow's jaw tightened. A coincidence. I have no Harrington blood. Sir Reginald's voice was sharp. Enough. That locket's a distraction. But Amelia spoke up, her voice trembling. It's not. Aunt Eleanor wrote of a man she loved, someone forbidden. Could it be connected? Poirot's eyes gleamed. Perhaps, mademoiselle. Love, like poison, can linger. He noted Clara's sudden stillness, her fingers pausing on her glass. The room grew heavy, each person eyeing the others with new suspicion. As the meal ended, Poirot rose. Tonight we have tasted danger, but also truth. The poison in the wine was meant for someone, perhaps all of you. I urge caution until morning. The household dispersed, their footsteps quick and uneasy. Poirot lingered, watching Graves clear the table with unusual haste. He followed the butler to the pantry, where he caught him rinsing the decanter. Monsieur Graves, Poirot said softly, why destroy evidence? Graves froze, then muttered, Habit, sir. I meant no harm. But his eyes betrayed fear. Returning to his room, Poirot locked the door, his mind piecing together the evening. the tainted wine, the locket's portrait, the guardian's shadow, all pointed to a motive rooted in love, betrayal, or greed. He opened the journal from the vault, finding a sketch of the harp with annotations about a mechanism within its base. Could it disperse poison, as he'd suspected? Tomorrow, he would dismantle it, but tonight he set a trap, a thread, across his window to catch any nocturnal visitors. As he settled into bed, a faint creak came from the hallway, followed by the soft thud of a door. The shadow was moving again, and Poirot knew the next day would force it into the light, or claim another victim. Chapter 7. The harp's hidden heart. The thread across Hercule Poirot's window remained unbroken at dawn, but the faint creak he'd heard the previous night echoed in his mind as he descended to the music room. The harp stood like a silent sentinel, its rosewood frame gleaming in the morning light filtering through the brocade curtains. Poirot's suspicions about its mechanism, hinted at in the alchemist's journal, drove him to examine it closely. He believed the instrument was more than a relic. It was a tool, perhaps the key to the poisonings that haunted Eldridge Estate. He ran his fingers along the harp's base, searching for the seam he'd noticed before. A faint click rewarded his persistence, revealing a hidden panel no larger than a book. Inside was a delicate brass contraption, a series of tiny tubes and a small bellows, connected to a compartment that held traces of a powdery residue. Poirot's pulse quickened. The journal had described a vaporizing mechanism, and this could be it. A device to release poison into the air when a string was plucked. He carefully extracted a sample of the powder, sealing it in a handkerchief for Dr. Crow to analyze. As he closed the panel, footsteps approached. Mrs. Finch entered, her apron dusted with flour, her eyes wide. "Monsieur Poirot, what are you doing? That harp's sacred." Poirot smiled calmly. "Sacred, perhaps, but also dangerous. Tell me, have you ever seen anyone tamper with it?" Her face flushed, and she stammered, "No, sir, never. It's been untouched since Lady Eleanor's day." But her quick glance toward the door betrayed unease. Poirot filed it away, noting her presence twice now near critical discoveries. He summoned Dr. Crow to the music room, handing him the powder. "Test this, doctor. I suspect it is our poison." Crow's brow furrowed as he examined the sample. "It's fine, almost invisible, perfect for dispersal. I'll need an hour in my study." Poirot nodded, then gathered the household in. The drawing room, where tension hung like a storm cloud. Sir Reginald's hands trembled as he sipped coffee. Amelia sat with her arms crossed, and Victor sprawled in a chair, his eyes bloodshot. Clara, poised as ever, adjusted her pearl necklace, while Graves stood rigidly by the door. Poirot held up the empty compartment from the harp. "This," he said, "is how the poison was delivered. A mechanism within the harp releases a deadly vapor when a string is plucked. Someone knew this and used it to kill Miss Thorne." Gasps rippled through the room. Amelia's voice shook. "But who would know such a thing?" Victor sneered. "Sounds like nonsense. That harp's just wooden strings." Clara's smile was thin. "Yet Lydia's dead, darling. Wooden strings don't lie." Sir Reginald's face paled. "My grandfather built that. It's monstrous." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Indeed, monsieur, and someone in this house is its master." He turned to Graves. "You have served here longest. Did you ever hear of such a device?" The butler's jaw tightened. "No, sir. I manage the household, not its ghosts." but Poirot noted his clenched fists. Dr. Crow returned, his expression grim. The powder is a cyanide derivative, highly volatile. A single pluck could release enough to kill in minutes. Poirot nodded. Then we must ask, who plucked the string that night? Amelia whispered. I heard it, but I didn't touch it. Clara raised an eyebrow. Perhaps our shadow plays music as well as games. To test his theory, Poirot proposed a demonstration. Tonight, we shall gather in the music room. I will pluck a string, safely with the compartment empty, to see who reacts. The household exchanged uneasy glances, but none refused. As they dispersed, Poirot caught Victor slipping a note to Elsie, who blushed and tucked it into her apron. A secret correspondence, perhaps. He resolved to watch them closely. In the afternoon, Poirot revisited the library, cross-referencing the journal's notes with Lady Eleanor's letters. One passage stood out. The Guardian protects the Harp's secret, but at a cost. The Yale term guardian again. Someone entrusted with the family's dark legacy. He suspected it was no ghost, but a living soul, driven by motives yet unclear. Was it greed for the rumoured Harrington wealth, or revenge for a past betrayal? As evening fell, the household assembled in the music room, the harp looming like a judge. Poirot, with deliberate care, plucked a single string, its note ringing, clear and hollow. Amelia flinched. Victor shifted uncomfortably, and Clara's eyes darted to Dr. Crow, who remained impassive. But it was Mrs. Finch who gasped, her hand flying to her mouth before she muttered, "Just nerves, sir." Poirot's gaze lingered on her, then moved to Graves, whose face was a mask. The demonstration yielded no confession, but Poirot sensed fear ripple through the room. He dismissed them, keeping the harp under watch by stationing himself nearby. As midnight approached, he heard a faint rustle outside the music room door. Slipping into the shadows, he saw a figure, cloaked as Amelia had described. Pause, then retreat. He followed silently, but the figure vanished into the maze of corridors. Returning to his room, Poirot found his notebook disturbed, a page torn out. The one with the vault symbol. Someone was desperate to cover their tracks. The harp's mechanism had confirmed the method, but the shadow's identity remained elusive. Tomorrow, he would tighten the net, using the torn page as bait. The estate's secrets were unraveling, and the truth was closer than ever, or more dangerous. Chapter 8. The Torn Page. Trap. The torn page from Hercule Poirot's notebook gnawed at his mind as he paced his room at dawn, the early light casting long shadows across the oak floor. Someone had invaded his space, desperate to erase the harp and serpent, symbol he'd sketched, a clue to the vault and the poison's source. This act of sabotage only sharpened his resolve. The shadow was growing reckless, and Poirot would use that to his advantage. Today, he would set a trap, using the missing page as bait to lure the culprit into revealing themselves. He began the morning by gathering the household in the conservatory, its glass walls steaming with the warmth of exotic plants. The air was heavy with the scent of jasmine, but suspicion hung heavier. Poirot held up his notebook, its torn edge visible. "Last night," he said, his voice steady, "someone entered my room and stole a page, a sketch of the crest tied to our mystery. I have redrawn it." He displayed a fresh sketch, watching for reactions. Amelia's eyes widened, Victor's jaw clenched, and Clara's fingers paused on her teacup. Dr. Crow adjusted his spectacles, while Graves and Mrs. Finch exchanged a fleeting glance. Elsie, polishing a tray, dropped it with a clatter, her face flushing. "The thief believes they've hidden their tracks," Poirot continued, "but they have only revealed their fear. Tonight, I will leave my notebook in the library, unguarded. We shall see who takes the bait." Sir Reginald protested. "This is madness, Poirot. You're inviting more danger." But Poirot's smile was serene. "Danger, monsieur, is a light that exposes truth." Throughout the day, Poirot kept busy, subtly observing the household. He followed Victor to the stables, where the young man argued heatedly with a groundskeeper about a missing horse, a possible means of escape. In the kitchen, he caught Mrs. Finch whispering to Elsie, her words sharp but indistinct. Clara spent the afternoon sketching in the garden, her eyes darting toward the manor's windows. Dr. Crow locked himself in his study, claiming to analyze the Harp's powder further, while Graves moved through the halls with a rigidity that betrayed tension. As evening fell, Poirot placed his notebook on the library's oak table, open to the new sketch. He rigged a simple trap, a fine thread tied to the book, connected to a bell hidden behind a bookshelf. Then he retreated to a shadowed alcove, his pocket watch ticking as he waited. The house grew quiet, the only sounds the distant tick of a grandfather clock and the rustle of leaves outside. Hours passed, and just past midnight, the bell chimed softly. Poirot emerged to find the notebook gone, the thread snapped. He hurried to the hallway, catching a glimpse of a cloaked figure, slipping toward the servants' quarters. He followed, silent as a spectre, through a maze of narrow passages. The figure paused at a locked door, fumbling with a key. Poirot stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Enough, mon ami, show yourself." The figure froze, then turned, revealing Elsie's pale face, her eyes wide with terror. I didn't mean harm, sir," she stammered, clutching the notebook. Poirot took it gently, his gaze piercing. "Why, mademoiselle? What do you fear in this sketch?" Elsie's voice trembled. "It's not me, sir. Someone told me to take it, said it'd keep us safe. I can't say who." Before Poirot could press further, footsteps echoed and Graves appeared, his face stern. "Elsie, what's this?" he demanded. She burst into tears, fleeing down the hall. Poirot held up a hand. "Let her go, Monsieur Graves. She is but a pawn." Back in the library, Poirot examined the notebook, finding a new clue. A smudge of ink on the stolen page's edge, scented faintly of lavender. Clara's perfume. Had she coerced Elsie, or was another hand at play? He confronted Clara in the morning room, where she sat reading. "Madame, your scent lingers on my notebook. Care to explain?" Clara's laugh was light, but her eyes were cold. "Lavender's common, Monsieur Poirot. You're grasping at straws." Yet her fingers tightened on her book. Poirot shifted. Tactics, visiting Dr. Crow's study. The doctor was mixing chemicals, his desk littered with vials. "The powder from the Harp," Crow said, "is indeed cyanide-based, designed to vaporize instantly. A devilish invention." Poirot nodded. And who might wield such a device? Crow hesitated. "Someone with knowledge of the estate's secrets, perhaps a servant who's listened too long." Poirot's eyes narrowed. Was Crow deflecting or hinting at Graves? As night approached, Poirot gathered the household in the drawing room, revealing Elsie's attempt to steal the notebook. "Someone directed her," he said. "Someone who fears the crest's meaning. I urge you to speak now, before the shadow strikes again." Silence followed, broken only by Victor's scoff. "This is a farce. Elsie's just clumsy." But Amelia's voice was soft. "She's scared, like I was. Someone's using her." Poirot dismissed them, but not before planting a new seed. He announced he'd found a second vault entrance, though he hadn't. He watched their faces, Sir Reginald's unease, Clara's sharp glance, Graves's stillness. The lie was a gamble, but it would force the shadow's hand. As he retired, a faint metallic clank echoed from the cellars, too deliberate to be chance. The trap had stirred the board, and Poirot knew the next move would be deadly. Chapter 9. The Shadow's Gambit. The metallic clank from the cellars echoed in Hercule Poirot's ears as he descended the servants' staircase, his lantern casting flickering shadows on the damp stone walls. His lie about a second vault entrance had stirred the hornet's nest, and he sensed the shadow was making a desperate move. The air was thick with the musty scent of earth, but beneath it lingered the faint trace of lavender, tying back to Clara's perfume, or a deliberate misdirection. Poirot's little grey cells churned, piecing together the web of clues. The harp's mechanism, the vault's poisons, Elsie's fear, and the elusive guardian. In the cellar, he followed the sound to a corner where crates were pushed aside, revealing a trapdoor he hadn't noticed before. Its edges were freshly disturbed. Dust swept away as if by hurried hands. He lifted it cautiously, revealing a steep ladder descending into darkness. Before he could proceed, a muffled cry came from above, sharp and urgent. Poirot hesitated, then climbed back to the main floor, his instincts pulling him toward the music room. There, he found Amelia crumpled on the floor, her face pale, a shattered teacup beside her. Dr. Crow knelt over her, checking her pulse. "She's fainted," he said, his voice tense. "No signs of poison, thank God." The household gathered, drawn by the commotion. Sir Reginald's hands shook as he helped Amelia to a chair. "What happened?" he demanded. Amelia, reviving, whispered, "I saw it again, the shadow. It was here, by the harp, holding something shiny." Victor rolled his eyes. "More hysterics. This place is driving us all mad." Clara's voice was cool. "Or someone wants us to think so." Poirot examined the harp, noting a fresh scratch on its frame near the hidden panel. A glint caught his eye. A small silver tool, like a tuning key, half hidden beneath a curtain. He pocketed it, his mind racing. Was this used to adjust the poison mechanism? He turned to Amelia. "Mademoiselle, what did the shadow do?" Her voice trembled. "It touched the harp, then vanished when—" I screamed. Poirot's gaze swept the room, landing on Graves, whose face was impassive, but whose hands twitched slightly. He decided to press his advantage. "Mes amis," he announced, "the shadow grows bold, but careless. This tool suggests someone, maintains the harp's deadly secret. And the trapdoor in the cellar, another path to the truth." Sir Reginald's eyes widened. "Trapdoor? I knew of no such thing." Poirot's smile was faint. "Yet someone did. Tonight we explore it together." Victor groaned. "More midnight adventures? I'm done with this." But Clara's eyes gleamed. "I'm curious, Monsieur Poirot. Let's see what's below." Under lantern light, the household descended into the cellar, Poirot leading the way. The trapdoor opened to a narrow tunnel, its walls carved with the harp and serpent, crest at intervals. The air was stale, heavy with secrets. At the tunnel's end was a locked iron gate, its lock rusted but intact. The silver tool from the music room fit perfectly, and with a grinding creak, the gate swung open, revealing a small chamber. Inside was a stone pedestal holding a single object, a leather pouch embossed with the crest, containing a bundle of letters and a gold ring inscribed with the initials E.H. Poirot scanned the letters, more of Lady Eleanor's, but these were love letters, addressed to a man named Thomas. They spoke of a forbidden affair, a child born in secret, and a vow to protect the guardian's legacy. Amelia gasped, clutching the ring. This was Aunt Eleanor's. She never spoke of a child. Sir Reginald's face darkened. Enough, Amelia. These are lies, old scandals. But Poirot's eyes gleamed. Or truths, monsieur, that someone kills to hide. Dr. Crowe examined the pouch, his voice steady. These letters are decades old, but the ink's fresh in places. Someone's added to them. Poirot nodded. A forgery, perhaps, to mislead us. He turned to Elsie, who hovered at the back. Mademoiselle, you were coerced to steal my notebook. Did you see this pouch? Elsie's eyes darted to Graves, then away. No, sir, but I heard whispers in the servants' quarters about a secret heir. Graves snapped. Hold your tongue, girl. Poirot's trap had worked. The shadow was cornered, its moves erratic. He addressed the group. The guardian is among us, protecting or exploiting this legacy. I urge you to confess before blood is spilled again. Silence fell, broken only by a faint drip of water in the tunnel. Clara's laugh was brittle. You're close, Poirot, but you're chasing ghosts. Yet her hand lingered near her pocket, as if concealing something. As they returned upstairs, Poirot lingered, examining the gate's lock. A faint scratch suggested recent use, and a trace of lavender clung to the metal. Back in his room, he found his thread trap broken, his valise rifled through, but nothing taken. The shadow was watching, testing him. He sat at his desk, sketching the ring's initials and the tunnel's crests, his mind closing in on the truth. The letters hinted at a hidden heir, but who, and why kill now? The answer lay in the harp, the vault, and the shadow's next move. As he blew out his lantern, a soft thud came from the music room, followed by a single chilling note from the harp. The game was nearing its end, and Poirot knew the final act would be deadly. Chapter 10. The silent harp's truth, the chilling note from the harp lingered in the air as Hercule Poirot stood in the darkened hallway of Eldridge Estate, his lantern casting a soft glow. The sound, deliberate and haunting, confirmed his suspicions. The shadow was making its final move. The web of clues, Lady Eleanor's letters, the harp's poison mechanism, the vault's secrets, the stolen notebook page, and the hidden heir had tightened around the household. Tonight, Poirot would unravel the deadly mystery and expose the guardian's identity. He gathered the household in the music room, where the harp stood like a judge awaiting its verdict, and prepared to reveal the truth. The room was lit by flickering candles, their light dancing across the faces of the assembled. Sir Reginald, his shoulders slumped with dread, Amelia, clutching the gold ring from the vault. Victor, his eyes bloodshot and defiant. Clara, her poise masking a flicker of unease. Dr. Crowe, adjusting his spectacles nervously, and the staff, Graves, Mrs. Finch, and Elsie, standing stiffly at the edges. Poirot's voice was calm but commanding. Mes amis, the silent harp has sung its final note. Tonight, we end this game of shadows and death. The truth lies in the past, but its hand strikes now. He began with the harp, lifting the hidden panel to reveal the brass mechanism. This device, he said, releases a cyanide vapor when a string is plucked. It killed Miss Thorne and nearly claimed another last night through the tainted wine. He held up the silver tuning key from the cellar. This adjusts the mechanism, ensuring its deadly precision. Someone among you is its master. Amelia gasped, her hand tightening on the ring. Victor muttered, "Ridiculous. It's just an old relic." But Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Non, monsieur. It is a weapon crafted by Sir Reginald's grandfather, the alchemist, and known to the Guardian." He turned to the letters, spreading them on a table. Lady Eleanor's words speak of a forbidden love with a man named Thomas, a child born in secret, and a guardian protecting their legacy. The locket's portrait and this ring, inscribed E.H., confirm her affair. But who is the guardian, and why kill now? Sir Reginald's voice was hoarse. "Those are old scandals, Poirot. Let them rest." Poirot shook his head. "They do not rest, monsieur. They live in this house, in someone's heart." Poirot paced, his hands clasped behind his back. The vault's nightshade, the trapdoor's letters, the stolen notebook page, all point to a secret worth killing for. The crest, the harp and serpent, is the key. It marks the Guardian's duty to protect the Harrington legacy or to claim it. He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "Let us reconstruct. Miss Thorne died after a harp note was heard, poisoned by vapor. Amelia saw a shadow, and the wine was tainted. Elsie stole my notebook under orders, and a trapdoor led to Eleanor's. Secrets. Each clue points to one truth. The Guardian is here, driven by greed, fear, or vengeance." He turned to Dr. Crowe. "You, Doctor, know poisons intimately. Your travels in the Orient, your predecessor's notes. You could wield the harp's mechanism with ease." Crowe's face reddened. "I'm a physician, not a murderer." Poirot nodded, then faced Clara. "Madame, your lavender scent clings to the notebook and the cellar gate. You move with calculation, perhaps to secure a fortune." Clara's laugh was sharp. "You flatter me, Poirot, but I'm no chemist." Victor scoffed. "Leave her alone. This is all theatrics." Poirot's gaze shifted to Graves. "Monsieur Graves, you served longest, knowing every passage and secret. You rinsed the tainted decanter. Why?" The butler stiffened. "A mistake, sir. I swear it." Poirot then looked at Mrs. Finch, whose hands twisted her apron. "And you, madame, are too often near the harp, nervous at its mention. What do you hide?" She stammered. "Nothing, sir. I'm just a housekeeper." Finally, he turned to Elsie, trembling by the door. "Mademoiselle, you stole my notebook, coerced by another. Name them." Elsie's eyes filled with tears, darting to Graves. "It was him, sir. He said it'd protect the family." Graves's face hardened, but before he could speak, Poirot raised a hand. "Patience, monsieur. All will be clear." He stepped to the harp, his voice rising. "The Guardian is not one, but two, working in concert. One knows the harp's mechanism, the other the estate's secrets. Together, they protect a hidden heir and a fortune tied to the vault. He produced the journal, pointing to a passage. The alchemist wrote of a trust, hidden wealth for a secret heir, guarded by the harp's keeper. Lady Eleanor's child, Thomas's child, lives, or their claim does. Amelia's voice broke the silence. A child? But who? Poirot's eyes softened. You, mademoiselle, are not the heir, but you uncovered Eleanor's letters, drawing the guardian's wrath. Miss Thorne was killed because she knew too much, perhaps from your confidences. Amelia paled, clutching the ring. Poirot turned to Graves and Mrs. Finch. You two are the guardians. Graves, you maintained the harp, knowing its deadly secret. From years of service. Mrs. Finch, you guarded the vault's entrance, your nerves betraying you at every turn. Graves stepped forward, his voice cold. You've no proof, Poirot. But Mrs. Finch crumpled, sobbing. It's true. We did it for the child, Eleanor's daughter, sent away at birth. The trust was hers, but Victor wanted it. He's bankrupt. Desperate! Victor lunged, shouting, Lies! I'd never! But Poirot cut him off. You, Monsieur Victor, pressured Elsie to steal my notebook, fearing exposure of your debts. But you did not kill. The harp was Graves' tool, and Mrs. Finch hid the poison. Poirot revealed the final piece. A letter from the pouch, forged recently to name Dr. Crow as Thomas's descendant, a ruse to shift blame. Dr. Crow, you were framed. Your likeness to the Locket's portrait a coincidence exploited by Graves. The doctor exhaled, relieved. Clara's eyes narrowed, but she remained silent, her role limited to suspicion, not murder. Graves lunged for the harp, aiming to destroy the mechanism, but Poirot was faster, tripping him with his cane. Non, monsieur. The game is over. Mrs. Finch confessed fully, her voice breaking. We thought we were protecting the heir's claim, but it went too far. Lydia overheard us, and Victor's debts threatened everything. Sir Reginald, devastated, sank into a chair. My family, ruined. Poirot addressed the room. The harp is silent now, its secrets exposed. The police will handle Graves and Mrs. Finch. The heir's trust remains, to be found and honoured. As the household dispersed, Amelia clutched the ring, tears in her eyes. Poirot stepped to the window, the dawn breaking over Eldridge. The shadow was gone, but its scars lingered. If you've enjoyed this twisting tale, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. Join us next time for another mystery where truth hides in the shadows.